My name is Allison, and I am the program coordinator for Saturday Academy's Apprenticeships in Science and Engineering. And I am going to tell you all about the program and the application process tonight. All right, so the ACE program, which we shorten it to ASE for Apprenticeships in Science and Engineering. Our program's mission is to provide students a meaningful career experience before college so that you can prepare to become our future scientists and engineers. And we believe that the professional setting offers such a great experience compared to the classroom because you're really learning to use those skills in a real setting rather than just learning about them in an abstract way in school. So it's a real world work experience in the fields that you're interested in. And often students, after completing an ACE internship, end up going on and studying that field in college and pursuing a career in that area. So I'd love to see in the chat what the fields that you all are interested in are. So I've got some listed here, so what is everyone into? Nice, we got biology and computer science, engineering, medical sciences and biology, computer science and tech, math, biochem, environmental science, medical, biology, astrophysics, engineering, environmental science. Nice. Good diversity of interests here. Biotech, cool. All right, well, we have positions available in all of those various fields, and including some that you maybe are less familiar with, like materials science, for example, which is kind of a combination of, some of it can be chemistry, some of it is engineering, but it's in, testing the properties of different materials for different purposes. We've got earth and atmospheric sciences as well. Sometimes we have architecture, a lot of biology, medical science, and computer science opportunities, a few chemistry, but yeah, it really spans the whole breadth of interests. And as you're deciding which positions to apply to, you'll see that the different positions are tagged based on different disciplines. And if you have multiple interests, it could be a good idea to apply to kind of diversify your application, apply to different positions and different fields, just because, to kind of switch around I guess it kind of opens up your chances of getting a position, because some may be more competitive than others. But it really varies year to year. And as we, I can actually take a little bit of time to show you some of the positions that are available now. I'd like to show you how you can filter in our internship catalog to find positions of different disciplines. So our website is saturdayacademy.org, and the link for the catalog, I can actually, Mara, our program manager, has put it in the chat now. So this shows us what positions are currently available. There's about 65 right now, but that number is growing over the next few weeks as we add more positions that are finalized. And it starts, there's, every position is listed here. If we scroll down, you can scroll over, there's 5 pages of opportunities. But you can also filter based on discipline. So we had several people interested in computer science and tech. So I'll apply that filter. And now we can see specifically those internships that are within that field. And some positions are tagged with multiple disciplines. So for example, here we have one that's also tagged as engineering. Here's one that's also tagged as math. And the most of our positions are in the Portland area, or some are virtual. And then we have a few in the Corvallis area as well. And there's some in Vancouver. So the Portland, Vancouver area is kind of one broad area. All right, so I'm going to come back to this a little bit later to show you more about the application process. But for now, let's talk more about the program. So the ACE program gives you a chance to really explore a career field in depth in a way that you wouldn't get to in school. And this is great because it can help you figure out what you might want to study in college and beyond. And, you know, a lot of you, I just asked you what fields you're interested in. Anyone out there really just not sure yet, or is really open to a lot of options? Maybe. So one of the great things about the ACE experience is you get to try out a career before you're really committing to it, right? So imagine you go to college, you study engineering for 4 years, you get your first engineering job, and then you realize, oh, wait, I don't actually like engineering. That would be a tough thing to go through, but this gives you the chance to try out that career and see if it's really for you before you commit your entire college career to it. It also gives you a feel for what life is like in the real world, working in that field. So for example, this picture shows Sergio, who worked at Bonneville Power Administration as an ACE intern. And really, he felt like that experience showed him what it was like to work in a real workplace and not just be thinking about it in this abstract theoretical way. All right. Similarly, this experience can help you focus your interests. So for example, a lot of you did say you're interested in computer science, but there's a lot of different facets to computer science. So you might think that you want to go into software programming, like Alex did here when they interned at IBM. But after having that experience, he realized that he was not as interested in the software aspect of computer science, but is now interested in looking into computer hardware or engineering. So it can really help you hone within that field what kind of specifically you'd like to do. So let's talk a little bit more about what interns do during the summer. So they get matched with a mentor at a specific organization who they will be working with for the summer. It's about 8 weeks. We'll talk a little bit more about the time commitment later. And so that work it could be a wide range of different activities. So field work, lab experiments. You could be working on computer programming, solving math problems, writing proposals, doing online literature research. It really varies. But no matter what you do, all of the interns are really contributing work to the projects of their mentors. It's legitimate contributions, not just practice activities like you do in school. So you're making a real contribution to the progress of science or engineering. And it's a learning experience. So the mentors know that you're not necessarily fully knowledgeable about how to do all of this stuff, and they are excited about training you. That's why they sign up. They really like to teach people how to do the things that they do in their field. And everyone will present what they do at our symposium at the end of the summer. And so you'll get a chance to learn from everyone else about their internship and what they learned and all the different skills that they learned how to do. So for eligibility, the application is open to current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders because it's for current high school students who are still in high school during the summer. Of course, you must be interested in STEM fields, as I know you all are. And then I'm actually going to answer one of the questions that just came up in the Q&A. So Andrea asked, are applications strictly limited to 50-mile radius from home? And this is relevant to this eligibility point. So most of our positions, as I said, are in Oregon with a few in Southwest Washington. And we have a few virtual positions as well. So for the virtual positions, anyone is eligible no matter where you live. But for the in-person and hybrid positions, you do have to live within 50 miles of that internship. And so we do adhere to that policy strictly because, we don't want this to be, transportation is your responsibility, and going more than 50 miles would be a lot. And then we also really value the making local connections between students where you live and the mentors where they live, and having this, building this relationship that's part of where you're part of the same community, essentially. So yes, applications for the in-person and hybrid positions are limited to that 50-mile radius, but the virtual positions are open to anyone. Okay, so as for this time commitment, it is a pretty serious commitment. We expect interns to work 296 hours minimum with their mentors between June and August. And so depending on when your school gets out, you would expect to start either June 13th or June 20th. And you should finish your work hours by August 20th. So that gives you about 10 or 11 weeks to complete about 8 weeks worth of full-time work. So there's a little bit of wiggle room there, and you can work with your mentor to figure out your exact hours. We do have a calendar calculator on our website, which can help you figure out if you have enough time. And that's especially good if you already know that you have some plans over the summer, like a family vacation or a sport or extracurricular commitment. But you really do need to make sure that you have enough time, because if your other commitments are taking up too much time, then you won't be able to complete the work with your mentor. And so you have to think of this internship as the primary activity of your summer, with other things just here and there on the side. And again, like I said earlier, you do have to provide your own transportation. So you have to, take that into a consideration as well for the time commitment. Okay. So as a program, we provide some support, a lot of support. That's what we love to do. We like to help you write a successful application and have a successful experience. So we offer workshops during the application period. Now you're at an information session, but we do have some cover letter writing workshops and interview skills workshops coming up. So those are posted on our website as well in the events area. And so you do, similar to this, you do have to register for those, but they are much more interactive because we are helping you come up with ideas for your cover letter and actually practicing interview questions. So those are, more of a Zoom meeting where you would be talking and participating a little bit more. But it's really valuable for practicing these skills, which will come in useful for other job opportunities as well, not just the ACE program. We also, Mara and I, so Mara, who's here with me on this meeting, helping out, she's the program manager, and we are on staff to help make sure things run smoothly. We also hire teachers to help us help the program run during the summer. They'll check in on you on site in your in-person internships and or over Zoom if it's a virtual internship. And then we also provide 3 fun events. One is the orientation, where interns get to know each other, get to know the expectations of the program, meet their mentors. And then we have 2 conferences. One is in the middle of the summer, July 14th, and that is a cool learning experience. You see talks by professionals. We'll have some workshops, and there'll be some socializing as well. And then the final symposium is August 11th. So that is when everyone presents the work that they did. So those are required events that you would want to put in your calendar now if you are hoping to be an apprentice this summer. And one of the more exciting parts is that there is a stipend as well. So apprentices all get $1,000 for the summer to cover expenses associated with internship and to compensate you for, all of your hard work. And there are a few positions that pay a wage directly instead of the stipend, but that would be listed in the position description online for those cases. And you know what, since I was just talking about time commitment, I'm going to go ahead and answer this question that came into the Q&A. Says, for the virtual internship, are the work hours flexible or will there be dedicated work time? And so that depends really on the mentors, but typically it would be dedicated scheduled times where you would be meeting with your mentor or with other members of their team. And so it might be more, there probably would be a little bit of flexibility in terms of your own independent work, but there would be a lot of virtual meetings and virtual kind of interaction that would be happening based on the schedule of the other people you're working with. All right. So, as I've been saying, we do have many in-person internships planned for the summer, and some that are listed, the majority I think are listed as hybrid at the moment because they are likely to have an in-person component, but they're kind of leaving it up to that flexibility to have some hybrid virtual components. So that will be shown in the position description. I can actually show you an example of that. I'll just flip back to our sample position here. And you can see, so the project descriptions will be over here on the left, and then over here on the right are prerequisites. And this is where you can find whether or not it'll be hybrid or in person. So this one is hybrid. Usually the description will also say whether it's hybrid, but can definitely find it fast in the prerequisite area. So of course, safety is our top concern, and we will, everyone will, depending on the organization you work with, you will agree to their communicable disease plan, sign a waiver, and follow the guidance of the mentors organization. All right, so other benefits of the ACE program. One is that you might be able to get school credit for your graduation credits towards high school. It also looks great on college applications, and you'll also you'll develop this relationship with your mentor, which they will likely be able to then be a good recommender for your college applications, because you do need to have, adult recommendations for those. It will also open doors for other internships and job opportunities. So once you get to know your mentor and their whole team, that could lead to future opportunities. I know, for example, that we have an ACE alum right now who worked at OHSU as an intern, and then now they are back there again doing some research while they apply for graduate school. So that was a great connection for them to have. And we are also offering some other opportunities for ACE applicants. So regardless of whether you are offered a position, we will reach out to you with other news and opportunities. So that could be other workshops in the future, classes, and we have one offering that even includes a stipend if you complete the whole term of the class. So even just applying gets you on our list to be considered and notified of these other applications or opportunities. All right, so let's talk more about the actual application process now, because I'm sure that is what you are eager to know, since we're right in the middle of our application period right now. So the deadline is March 4th, so that's about a month from now. And in the application, you'll need to enter your basic contact information. You'll need a school transcript as a PDF. You'll need 2 adult recommendations. You'll be entering the contact information for them. And you will write a cover letter or multiple. I'll talk more about that. And then you will choose up to 3 specific internships to apply for. So those will be your preferred positions that you would rank in first, second, and third. So a little bit more about each of these components. First, the school transcript. So the basic components of a school transcript is that it has your own information as the student. It has your academic history, and it has the school info. And so this can be an unofficial or official transcript, as long as it has all of that information. Academic history means the classes you've taken and the grades you got in them. And just as a note, grade reports or printouts of each semester will not be accepted. We want one document that shows all of this info. And if you just ask a teacher or a counselor at your school for a transcript, they will know what you need. So don't worry about it. Okay, so when it comes to requesting recommendations, you do need 2 adults. They can't be related to you. And you should ask them soon if you haven't already, because the deadline is a month. And so you want to make sure that they have time for that commitment. And so once you have asked them and gotten their permission, you'll enter their information, their contact info on the application. And when you're deciding who to pick, you really want to go with people who know you well, who know your intellectual interests, your academic ability, your character, your work ethic. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher. It could be a counselor or a coach or a leader in another organization you're a part of. It does help for at least one of them to know specifically about your science, math, or engineering or tech skills, since a lot of the positions are fairly technical. And so if you have some experience in that area, it's good to have someone who can speak to that. But again, that's not required. There are plenty of other skills that can make you a good applicant. But yeah, these are just some tips on what to look for in a recommender. You also want to make sure that they're going to write you a positive They give you a positive recommendation, right? It's always good to check. Okay, a big part of the application is the cover letter. And so this is your chance to share information that hasn't been shared in your transcript or recommendations. And so I'm curious to see in the chat, has anyone written a cover letter before? Oh, we've got one yes. I got a couple yeses. Okay. It's definitely rare to have done a cover letter when you're still young before college. But this is a great opportunity to really get to draft your first cover letter, and then you can use that in the future, can tweak it for further applications. I've got dozens of different cover letters saved on my laptop from different positions I've applied to, and they've just evolved over the years from those early days. So the online application will have you submit the letter, there's a text box where you can put in that letter, and you'll want to include in the letter why you're interested in an internship and why you're interested in the specific disciplines that you're applying to work in, and also what soft and hard skills make you a great fit for a career in that area. If you want to know more about, what hard and soft skills are, I definitely recommend that you attend one of our cover letter workshops, because we spend a lot of time talking about that. When it comes, I'll just give an example. A soft skill could maybe include your social skills or your interpersonal ability, working well with others. Whereas a hard skill might be, I know how to extract DNA from a fish, so it kind of, both of those are really useful in a science career. Actually, you might not realize it, but the soft skills come in really handy as well. And so all of those things are important to put in your cover letter. We have a lot more tips on our website. So we have actually a cover letter writing guide, and then we also have those workshops. So definitely recommend that you sign up for a workshop if you can. We have one more that's still open for registrations, I think, and it's on February 12th. All right. So another important thing to include is how the internship will impact your life, because mentors really want to know, they are invested in training the next generation of STEM professionals. And so they want to know that this is going to impact the student that they're training, and that this is going to be like a very important experience for them. All right. I want to just spend a minute going into the two different types of cover letter that we accept. So everyone is required to write what we call the general cover letter. And then you also have the option to write position-specific cover letters. And this is explained a little bit more on our website, but the general letter would be expressing, you want to put your skills and your interests in there, but you don't want to mention any of the specific positions you're applying to, because this letter will be sent to multiple different organizations. And so you don't want to have the wrong, position put into your letter. But we do recommend that you write these position-specific cover letters if you feel very excited about a certain internship. And so that would be where you are writing specifically about that internship and why you would be a great fit for that. So for example, looking at our computer graphics one over here, if you have some experience working in computer graphics, then you would want to include that in your position specific cover letter. There are some descriptions are a little more detailed than others. I'd say this one is a little bit shorter, but some might list more skills. So, make sure you pay attention to the position description to see what types of skills you have that match that position really well. So if you do write a position-specific cover letter, it would then replace the general cover letter for that application to that position. But you do still need to have a general letter submitted because there's a chance that other positions will be added to our program later on, and we might want to apply you to that position. And so we would check with you, say, oh, are you interested in this position as well? And then it becomes really easy for us to send over your general cover letter. So that is why we do need both. And I believe I've just answered live this question that came in that we write, so that you actually, so someone asked, do you write different cover letters for each internship or one common cover letter in general? And so the answer is definitely one common cover letter. And then if you want to, you can write those letters for each internship. Okay. So I'm going to show you how you start your application. Again, deadline's March 4th. Keep reminding you of that. So I'm going to continue with our theme here of computer science and technology. And I'm going to say, I'm excited about this one, this Saltier software company in Portland, discovering new geometry theorems. I want to learn about this. So I'm going to click on it. I read that it's all about, doing math problems to discover new geometry theorems. And I think that's cool. So I'm going to add this internship to Locker. And now I'm ready to start my application. So I'm going to go to my Locker. And if I had added, you can add a bunch of different internships to your Locker. This is a place to keep track of the ones that you think are cool. And then once you are ready to start your application, there'll be a button here that says apply for these internships. I'm logged into my own account and I'm not allowed to apply because I work for Saturday Academy and I'm not in high school. So, but you will see a button that says apply. If you have applied in the past, then you would be able to log into your same account as last time for the ACE application. But if you have taken a Saturday Academy class, you won't be able to use the same account that you registered for that class in. We have a separate system from the classes. And so if it's your first ACE application, you'll need to create a new account with a different email address for your login. Okay. Now I will just show you, walk you through how to find all those internships, because I think I kind of skipped right to it earlier. But when you go to our basic webpage, you'll want to click on this drop-down menu where it says Be an Intern. And then browse internships down here on the Be an Intern page. And then I'm going to skip through the next few slides quickly since I already showed you that process, but you can expand the internship positions with Learn and Apply, can add to your locker. And then this is what it will look like for you. It'll say apply for these internships and you'll click that. All right. So our major tips for as you're starting your application are put that deadline on your calendar and make sure you have everything in by that deadline, even the recommendations, because we are very strict about that deadline. Next tip is that if you feel really strongly about one or more positions, then go ahead and write multiple cover letters, write those position-specific cover letters. Just don't forget that you also have to write a general letter. We also recommend that you have an adult read and edit your cover letter, or you could trade with a friend, but it helps to have it be someone who has applied for jobs before, so they can give you feedback on what makes a good cover letter. Again, you could attend our workshops to help you get started on that cover letter. We do, and then we're offering an interview skills workshop. And so I haven't touched on this yet, but interview is not necessarily a part of the application process. It really depends on the mentor. So after we collect all the applications, we send them out to the different mentors that you have chosen, and they will review the applications and rank the applicants. And some of them may want to do interviews to help them rank, but not all of them will. So you might get called for an interview, but you might not. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are out of the running if you don't get a call. So don't think too much into it. But if you would like to practice interviewing before that happens, then I encourage you to sign up for an interview skills workshop. And you can find those on our website. And we are available to answer any questions you have about the application and the program. So now's the time to think of your questions if you have any on the spot, or you can always follow up with us later if you think of questions after the fact. I will show that we have some resources on the website that can help you out and may answer some of your questions. One is the application guide. So it looks like this, and then it has steps to the application process. It also links to cover letter writing tips and interviewing tips. And then we also have, I'm just going to flip back over to our website. There is a page called the ACE Experience, which answers a lot of frequently asked questions. So this is another good place to go if you are curious about some of the details of the program and the application. All right, and so now before I get to the questions in the Q&A, I just want to add, if you're not on our mailing list yet, definitely recommend joining that, because we're still adding new positions and we do send out emails with updates about the positions that are added and reminders about the deadline and the workshops. So it's just a great idea in general to be on our mailing list so you don't miss anything. And with that, I will switch over to looking at our Q&A. So feel free to type more questions in and I will go through them one by one. All right, so first we have the question about an age requirement. It says, I was looking at OHSU internships and I realized that there's an age requirement of 16 and you have to be 16 by May 15th. Is that a strict cutoff? I don't turn 16 until early June. Unfortunately, that is a strict cutoff. So the May 15th date is set by the mentor organizations. We don't have control over that. And there is a wide diversity of options. And so Some of them have an age requirement. That's especially if they are in a hospital, that tends to be a trend. But a lot of them do not have an age requirement, and you just have to be in 9th grade, 10th grade, or 11th grade. So that would be listed in the position description prereqs. I can actually show you some examples. If we go back here, so you'll see that, for example, this one has a minimum age of 16, but the other ones don't say that. And so the only one out of the 6 shown here have a minimum age. Okay, next question. For the recommendations, would the recommender have to write an actual letter, or will they be sent a form and answer short questions? They will be sent a form, and there are some questions, and then there's a place for them to enter, a paragraph. It could be in the form of a letter if they, have a lot to say about you, which I hope they do. But yeah, it is a form. It doesn't have to be like a formal letter with any, specific structure. They'll get an online form. All right, next question. Do teacher mentor recommendation letters need to include anything specific, or are they a general overview of applicant strengths? So when they get the form, there will be a few specific questions, but the questions are phrased in a way that will tell them what they should include. So it's as they're filling it out, it will be clear to them what they should say. So you don't have to worry about that. All right. Next question. If the internship requires you to be a certain grade, then do you have to be going into that grade or have completed it? Also, if it says you have to be 16, so we've already, they're asking again about when the age requirement comes into play. And I've already covered that because it's May 15th that you have to be the age if it says a requirement. As for the grade, I think it's that you just completed that grade, but Mara, will you chime in on that? I can't remember.
Yeah, so there are some that, for example, say minimum grade 11th, and that should be somebody who is a current 11th grader when they're applying. So when the summer starts, you should be completing 11th grade. So think of it sort of like the age requirement of May 15th, same sort of approach. If you're in 11th grade on May 15th, then you meet the minimum requirement. It's sort of the same thought process for grade. But hope that answers the question.
Great. Yeah, that makes it easy to remember. Okay. We had another question about the age. Unfortunately, my answer is the same. Yeah, May 15th is a strict deadline. So just gonna keep going. How much background knowledge on your area of interest would be the best? This is a great question. So I think that your passion and interest in an area is just as important as your background knowledge. And so if you feel that you don't really know that much, or maybe you see some words in the project description that you don't understand, that is okay. I think that showing why you're interested in learning about that is just as valuable, and you can focus on what you will do with this learning experience instead of your knowledge that you already have going into the experience. So I hope that answers that question. Feel free to ask another one. Next question is, what is the average acceptance rate of internships? How many spots does each internship have in general? Another good question that varies from position to position. So right now, we have a total of 65 positions that are open. And we're adding a few more, so that number will go up. That number comes from the fact that some of these organizations are hosting more than one intern. So we have, I think between 1 and 3, potentially 4 students at each organization, but it's usually one per position. But you will, if you were to count up the different postings, it's not going to total 65 because some of them are for more than one position. So as far as the acceptance rate goes, it really depends on how many applicants we get. So it varies a lot. I wouldn't take, this number too seriously but I think, around maybe a quarter of applicants will get a spot. But again, that really varies, and there are a lot of benefits for applying, even if you don't get a position. So you should always just go ahead and apply, even if you're not sure whether or not you'll get accepted, because you can gain a lot from the experience of applying itself. All right, next question is, besides transportation, is there a fee to participate in ACE? Great question. There is no fee. There used to be, but this is the first year that there's no fee, besides the application fee, which is $35. But if you qualify for free or reduced lunch in the your state's school system, then that application fee is waived. And so once you've applied, if you're accepted to a position, there's no additional fees. We pay you to do the internship. Next question, do you have to apply to specific internships before the recommendation forms are sent to your recommenders? No, you do not have to. You can actually log on and send your recommendation forms to those recommenders right away. You can take a little more time to decide which specific positions you're going to apply for. I think it does help to let your recommender know which positions that you're interested in, because that can help them guide their recommendation process and kind of focus on what skills they want to talk about that you have. So, it's up to you though. The application itself is set up so that there's kind of separate parts of the application and you can do them out of order. But you do want to make sure you rank your positions before you enter any position specific cover letters, because that gets kind of shifted around if you change your rankings. So that's kind of the only timing thing that you'd want to worry about in terms of the order that you do the application. Okay, another question. How many people often apply for the program? That, as I said, varies, but we expect there to be about 400 applicants, give or take, this year. So yeah, it really depends. Next question, if you apply twice or can you apply twice if you do not get selected this year? Yes, you can. Follow-up question, can you be an intern more than once? No. We like to give this opportunity to as many people as possible. And so once you've had one internship, then you'll no longer be eligible the next years. But having done an internship will give you a really great experience to talk about when you're applying for other opportunities. So I'm sure that you won't have any problems getting any other positions afterwards. Well, I mean, I can't guarantee that, but you know, it definitely helps. Okay, next question is, how common are paid internships and are there any problems associated with them? So I think you're referring to the fact that I mentioned that a few of the internships pay a wage instead of the stipend. So the stipend is all of the internships. The paid wage internships are currently, I believe, limited to HP, but again, that's something that you should look for in the position descriptions. And as far as I know, no problems associated with that. It's great to get a wage. But if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. Next question, when did the results come out? Great. I was meaning to say that. So we do the selection process. The mentors select who they would like for their positions. That happens in March and April, and then by early to mid-May, we are sending out the decisions and the position offers. And last question I see here is, how does getting school credit work? And that really depends on your school. So you should ask a school counselor or whoever is in charge of, tracking the credits that you've accumulated during high school. Are there any other questions? I did have another thing I wanted to add about writing cover letters. So I'm just going to flip to our cover letter guide. I'll show you how to navigate to various things. A great place to start is always the Be an Intern page. And then the application guide. And here we have cover letter writing guide. And one tip I want to give is that anytime you're writing a cover letter, you should save it in your own word processing software so that you have your own copy, just in case the website crashes or something, so that you don't lose that information. This is always a good practice for any type of application. You want to have your own saved copy of things and just copy and paste it into the application once it's totally ready to go. I had 2 more questions come in. So how many paragraphs are the cover letters usually? So typically there's an introduction, there's 1 or 2 content, paragraphs that where you're elaborating on your experience and your skills and your interests, and then a brief conclusion. And so there is more about that in our cover letter writing tips here. We've got guiding questions for as you're brainstorming and drafting your letter. And then when it comes to writing, you've got this basic structure, your introductory paragraph, your supporting paragraphs, and then your concluding paragraph, which is always very short. Intro and conclusion, both pretty short. And then the supporting paragraphs, it could be between 1 and 3 longer paragraphs, depending on how much you have to say. Next question, is it okay to apply to be an intern, even though I'm unsure if I want to be one? I'm interested in being one, but I'm unsure if I should give it a try. I think, yes, definitely apply. I think the more you look into the application and work on your cover letter, that the more excited you're going to get, honestly. That's been the case with every single job I've ever applied to. Like by the time I submit my application, I am just like convinced that this is the perfect job for me, no matter what it is. So I have a feeling that once you start going on the application, you're going to convince yourself that you want to be an intern because it's a really cool experience. Next question, how can we create an overall good and impactful profile? Well, I think I'm curious. I think by profile you mean like sort of your general application overall, but I'm making an assumption there. Because your basic information will be, just your contact information and your interests. But then when it comes to giving, kind of showing the mentors who you are and what you're interested in, that really comes down to the cover letter. So I would say checking out our cover letter writing tips that we have here will take you a long way towards making a good impression and making sure the mentors remember you from when they're reading your cover letter. Any other questions or maybe follow up or more specific questions if I didn't answer them fully? Mara, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just I think you'd answered all the questions so well, but I just wanted to add that if anybody has concerns or anything else about the program that as they're filling out the application sort of come to light, you had the email on the screen that Allison and I are on this ace@saturdayacademy.org, and we are more than happy to sort of answer all of your concerns. So just let us know if you want to let us know on a more like individual level. We would be happy to hear from you as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I see 2 more questions came in. So one is, how do I send my recommenders the recommendation link? That will be, it'll happen through the application. So when you start your application, once you've created your account and entered your basic info, you can navigate to the page, the recommender section of the application, and you will enter their name and email address, and then the link will get sent to them right then. As soon as you submit their email, it'll get sent over to them. And so it's always a good idea to then follow up and make sure they received the link. And if they didn't, they may need to check their spam or junk folder. And if they still can't find it, then I would say make sure that on the application it says that it got sent, and then you could email us and say that the link seems to have gotten lost, and we can resend it. I'll just add while I'm talking about that once they've submitted their recommendation, it should say on your application that it has been submitted, so you can check and see if they've done it yet. And if they haven't, it's a good idea, if the application, once the deadline's coming up, you want to follow up and remind them to submit it. And if they say they already have, then email us and we will figure out what happened to it. Okay, next question is, for the virtual internships, would the hours be flexible or dedicated work times? So with that, it really does depend on the mentor. So we expect that they will set dedicated work times with you for the virtual time, but there could be some flexibility, within the week. I'd say that a good portion of your weekly hours will probably be set times, and there might be some that are more flexible, but it really depends on the position itself.
Can I add some context here, Allison?
Oh,
so yeah. I know an internship last year, for example, of the virtual internship, even though it's working from home, all of the students, there happened to be 4 students at this particular position last year, they all logged into a Zoom room with their co-mentors. And so the second they had a question, they could just speak up in the Zoom room that they were all in, and they went into a breakout room to address their questions. So I would anticipate that most of the time it's going to be dedicated work times where it's not going to be sort of like off hours, independent work styles. So sort of like what Allison said earlier in the presentation, that you should anticipate that even though it's virtual, ACE should still be your primary commitment during work time, because despite the location being at home, most likely during work hours, you're going to be answering messages and Zooms and all of the things that Allison mentioned.
Yeah, thanks. All right, next question is, should we start our general cover letter with "Dear ... And the answer is no, actually. For our format, the way you submit it, we will automatically add that kind of greeting for you. So you should actually just launch right into your introduction. You don't need a greeting, a salutation. And then a follow-up question, what are the general start times? So for on a day-to-day basis, people typically start work at, 9 in the morning or so. But for the positions themselves over the course of the summer, June 13th or June 20th would probably be your start day. Those are Mondays after the school year has ended. Any other questions? And again, you can always email us here at ase@saturdayacademy.org with additional questions, and we will help you out. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. I hope you feel confident as you go off and do your application, and remember that we're here to help you. And yeah, there's a lot of exciting opportunities. So just spend some time browsing the internship catalog and getting inspired with what you might want to do. All right, then we will end here, and I hope you all have a good night. Thanks for coming.